my next guest, who is Jerry Hayes, who was in Parliament with me at the time. He's now a barrister, probably earning much, much more money. Jerry, welcome.
Good evening, George. Nice to hear you in such good form. And the most bonkers set of texts I've heard for a long time.
Indeed.
Wonderful.
Indeed, it's the Sony radio station of the year. Now, Jerry, your old friend, Kenneth Clarke, must be preparing to walk after this humiliation, surely.
No, I don't think so. I think his basic idea that there are people in prison who don't deserve to be there, drunks, people who've got drug problems, people who've got mental problems, for relatively minor offences, he's quite right. Let's deal with a community penalty, and let's save prison for the really serious things. But where I think he went horribly wrong, I think ministers went a bit native, because this is an old scheme which has been knocking around for a long time, but no one in their right mind touched with a barge pole. Because at the moment what happens is, just if I may, just to set the scene, if you plead guilty at an early opportunity, you automatically get 30% off. And then the nearer you get to the door of the court for trial, it goes down and down and down until you get nothing at all. Then, once you're sentenced, you serve half of that, and you take off the time you've served inside as well. What the Ministry of Justice idea was that it's not 30%, it's 50%. And that's a turkey. I mean, the judges were against it, barristers and solicitors were against it, and the police were against it. I just do not understand why it came across, or why he was putting it forward, unless there was a clever little plan just to show to the Treasury, look, mate, if you cut any more, the whole thing is going to collapse.
One thing that surprises me, we both sat in the House with him, a very formidable brain and a very experienced man.
Yeah.
Why he's come over so maladroit of late in the handling of this brief?
Well, I just don't understand. I think probably, don't forget, I mean, I remember the reason it was created. The Ministry of Justice was created because they promoted the hopelessly inadequate Jackie Smith to Home Secretary, which modern psychiatry still just can't explain. And Jack Straw wanted this great super department of his own, and he took over something like 80,000 civil servants. And of course, it doesn't work. It's not fit for purpose. And the whole thing is falling. The criminal justice system in this country, it started under Jack Straw, is falling apart. It really is. It is a mess. And I think Ken is finding it, as any minister, very difficult to get to grips with.
People are up in arms in the profession, your profession, about the cuts to legal aid.
Oh, it's appalling. I mean, I'll give you a classic example. When I usually finish a prosecution, or defending, doesn't really matter, what happens is you sign a piece of paper and we agree the page count. There's no fraud in it because no one's going to allow you to defraud the legal aid fund because, the prosecution civil servants won't allow it. And then you're paid within 21 days. We actually took a pay cut years ago so that we could be paid relatively quickly. Now, Jack Straw started it, and this government is still continuing it. It all gets sent up to Liverpool. I haven't been paid a penny in 3 months. And most criminal barristers are in exactly the same position. The whole system is falling apart.
And Ken Clarke, will he be there to be the man that sorts it out?
I hope so, because as you rightly said, you and I know him very well. He's a thoroughly decent man. He's never been tainted with scandal. He speaks his mind, but now he's got to use all the experience that he gained in all the other departments to lick this department in shape, because otherwise, never mind the criminal justice system, and that's falling apart, but community care, I'm talking about kids. Kids will find it, because under the new system, cutting legal aid and cutting back on solicitors, kids will be left hanging, waiting for their fates for over a year.
Oh, not hanging, I hope, Jerry. They're not going back to that, are they? I knew we had a revanchist crew in charge of the country, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. That's Jerry Hayes, my old pal, now a barrister. I'll be back after the news with the second hour of the week.